The following program is paid for by ChannelMom Media.
The show made for moms and families. It's ChannelMom.
My name is Jenny, and I'm a mom, but I once lived a more glamorous life as a TV reporter. I was on the nightly news interviewing pop stars and politicians. So when I left TV to become a full-time mother, I quickly found out what we moms are up against. Our world glorifies the rich and famous. For what? I say let's honor the moms who are raising this world's next generation.
It's Channel Mom Radio with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you.
Yes, we really are. I am trying to fix things in the studio. There. Welcome to Channel Mom. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you're here for a reason today, because man, do we have a show for you. And I know I say that pretty frequently because I work very hard to get you good guests. But today is particularly special. Look, we all know, because the news is inundating us with it, that Harvey Weinstein, a very, very, very well-known and prolific Hollywood producer, has been found out for years, decades of sexual harassment in graphic and horrible ways that we've learned about, and you're probably sick of it. So this is not about making that story more fearful or more sensational or more salacious. That's not what we're here to do today. But I was thinking about it a couple of days ago before it kind of blew up and everybody started covering it, and I thought, we need to talk about this stuff with moms and in relation to their own lives and their own self worth and the way in which they are raising their children, their sons and their daughters, because this stuff is key. And I want to talk about the idea of harassment on a number of levels, because clearly it has gotten to be an epidemic thing in our society in a number of ways. So it's not just about the workplace, Hollywood couch kind of situation. It is pervasive, and it rears its ugly head in a lot of different ways. And I thought, gosh, I really want to talk to moms about this for their own sake, but also for their kiddos too. So we're going to address things like not just sexual harassment in the workplace or at parties, but also pornography and the way in which that has begun to enter into marriages and destroy them, because it's kind of this accepted thing in our culture. But in fact, it is hand in hand with the sexual harassment issue. And I've got somebody on that's going to talk about that. I also want to just talk about how women in general are demeaned for their bodies, whatever shape or size they are, and the way in which they're sexually harassed for the way they look, whether it's good or bad, in the eyes of the perpetrator. So I have on Facebook Live today, if you're joining us on Facebook Live, a precious mother who has agreed to come on with us today and be anonymous. I'm not going to give you her name. She has gone through forms of harassment in a variety of ways, to the point in which she's an expert, unfortunately, but also because she's dealt with predators and she understands the mind of a predator. And I thought, I've known her for a while now, and I thought she's the perfect person to talk to our audience, to our moms, and to our men who are listening, who are raising, all of you, who are raising babies to do this better. And so I feel very strongly about it. I don't want to play into some stupid part of the national conversation. I also don't want to vilify men. This isn't about saying all men are sexual predators, stay away, they're never allowed to compliment a woman. That's not what I'm doing today. I'm saying, what's going on in our society that this is happening in such, prolific, widespread numbers? What can we do? And I believe the person I'm going to have on today is going to help us with this. Just so you know, I got a couple stats and then we're going to get to my friend. 1 in 3 women report having been sexually harassed. 1 in 6 women experience some kind of sexual violence in their lives. Pornography is on the rise in drastic numbers. Most kids will be exposed to it. Most boys, but 90% of all boys will be exposed to it by the time they're 18 years old. So we've got all kinds of issues out there, and the statistics to back up the fact that we've got a problem. And I'm also going to play you a soundbite today from a past interview I had with Gretchen Carlson. You may remember she was a Fox News anchor who filed a lawsuit against the chief of Fox News, Roger Ailes. And she had a settlement out of court, I believe, and she's been commenting on this sexual harassment thing since it's broke with Harvey Weinstein. I have a past comment for her from her about harassment of women. Okay, I've said enough. I want to get to our friend. I'm just going to call her my friend every single time I talk to her. Welcome to Channel Mom, my dear.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, tell us the various ways, if it takes you a couple minutes, that's fine, in which you have encountered sexual harassment in your own life and in your professional life.
They kind of intersect. When I was at my most recent job, it took a matter of less than a week before I was sexually propositioned by one of my coworkers. And throughout the time that I was there, I would regularly receive sexual propositions from coworkers, have sexually inappropriate comments from supervisors. And I was working in a male-dominated field, which, everybody thinks that comes with it, and that's just something that you should get used to. And really it's not, because the environment I was working in, I was also surrounded by male sexual predators. And I'm not talking about the staff members I worked with. I was talking, men that were incarcerated for committing sex offenses.
So you think the staff members should know better?
You would think, but I actually, for the most part, experienced more respect from the men that I was working with that were the inmates than I did from the men that I was working with as coworkers.
Huh. Did you feel like your job was on the line if you were to report them?
Absolutely. I was on probation for the first year.
Uh-huh.
Or actually for the first 2 years, because I switched jobs within there. And it got to a point where, I did actually I confronted a couple of coworkers that had made really inappropriate comments to me. And from that moment on, it became an even more hostile work environment, because I didn't report them to the supervisors. I just confronted them on their inappropriate behavior. And that resulted in me, all of a sudden, they had different names for me.
Oh, okay. And again, I really don't like the victim mentality. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say every woman, step forward if a guy even taps you on the shoulder. I don't want to do that. But in your estimation, when you watch the sexual predators, when you get sexually harassed in your job, and you're also going to tell us that you have it directly in your personal relationship, you have a harassment situation because you have a spouse who's addicted to pornography. So you're getting it from all angles. How do you view this now? Because you've studied it, you've counseled it, against it. How do you view this as a societal problem?
I believe that it's like a cancer. It's almost impossible to eradicate, because the men that are responsible, and I use men because, being a Christian, God talks about how men are supposed to be the leaders, how they're supposed to lead their families, they're supposed to be the provider, they're supposed to be the protector. Mm-hmm. And so part of it is their responsibility under the authority of God, especially when they call themselves believers, to step up and say enough is enough. We are the ones that can change this. Women can talk about it all they want. And I think that that's where I come from is, I'm gonna call it what it is. I'm not the type of person that shies away and lets people bully me into being quiet. Mm-hmm. I tend to speak truth in whatever situation comes about, and I'm going to continue to do that. But really, as women, as moms, our responsibility is to raise our children knowing that, especially young boys, they're likely going to have the opportunity to be exposed to pornography before the age of 8. Yeah. Has been my experience with the individuals I've worked with. And so if you're waiting until junior high to talk about sex, you're too late. Yeah. You're way too late. Yeah. They've already learned about sex from what they're watching at their friend's house, at the neighbor's house, or the magazine. And
if they've been exposed, they now feel like it's dirty and wrong to tell you, like they're at fault somehow, so they won't tell you, and then they may get re-exposed because they're not getting your help. I was super strict with my son. I allowed him to go to a police officer's house, and his son exposed my son to pornography at about age 8. Fortunately, we had talked to my son about these things, so my son came home and told us about it, and we were able to get him to a place where he wasn't going to keep viewing it over and over again. We don't have a ton of time today. I wish we had 4 hours, because this is a topic worthy of that. When you counsel sexual predators, and let's be honest, a guy like Harvey Weinstein, that's a sexual predator. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't want to get in trouble here, but if he did what they said that he did, that's sexual predatory behavior. Mm-hmm. What do you see that's a commonality amongst these men that think it's okay to touch a woman's breast, or to say really inappropriate things, or to proposition her sexually, or to ask her to watch them, or to attack her, however it is, to rape her? What have you discovered in all of your work, the thing behind all that?
The thing that we speak the most about to the men that I've worked with is objectification. It is the common thread between the men who commit sex offenses, whether it's against children, against adults, against each other. The key is that because, and this is where pornography plays a role in it, because they spent so much of their life viewing increasingly more violent and disgusting and inappropriate content
and graphic, not loving.
Graphic.
By the way, we've removed love from sex in common
absolutely.
culture. It's
absolutely.
It's as grotesque and extreme and violent as we can make it on screens and everywhere else.
And that's the objectification piece. What that means is that because they're constantly watching a fantasy of women pretending to enjoy being brutalized, and we know from conversations with women who have gotten out of the pornography industry that they were raped, that they were beaten into submission, that they were drugged in order to participate, supposedly consensual sexual behavior. And the reason is because the men who are watching and perpetrating these behaviors don't look at women as women. They don't look at them as somebody's mother, somebody's daughter. They don't see their own children in these women. They're nothing more than a sexual object to them. They're the thing that they get pleasure from. There's no humanity in the women that are victimized by these men.
They don't see it as a potential to love.
No.
And that's why pornography so often leads to divorce and separation and adultery, because that it removes love from the sex equation.
Absolutely.
Which I think is disastrous, and I think it's counter to what God designed for us in creation. How much time do I have, Chad? 4 minutes. Okay. I want to promise people that in the second half, we're going to get to how to help your kids with this. I brought a book that I got years ago called God Made All of Me, and how to start talking to your children about it. It's never too early.
No.
And here's the other thing that destroys me, because I've partaken in it. And so I've allowed my daughter to, is that we have this culture now of selfies and booty pics and cleavage pics and my son got naked pics, and he would tell me, he'd come to me and say, so-and-so sent me a naked pic today. And that women objectify themselves, unfortunately. And I'm not saying that if you get raped, it's your fault. That's not what I'm saying. But we're playing into this culture where it's okay to wear see-through spandex and everything. And so our girls are being raised to think of themselves as objects because they want to be attractive to boys and to men. And, well, girls don't want to be attractive to men, but you know what I'm saying? So what, in a minute, what do you see unfolding in our culture through the pornographic portrayals in soft porn, through Victoria's Secret and selfies and everything else?
Well, the conversation with girls is that the only way you can ever be loved is if you have sex, if you reveal yourself, that you're not worthy unless your boobs are big enough, unless you're showing enough skin, that nobody is ever going to want you if you don't give up yourself. That is what is being portrayed by the men that they're interacting with, the boys that are the same age in school, by everything you see on TV. The underlying theme is you're not worthy of real love from a man who loves God, from a guy who respects you and who will never ask you for any of this until you're married and until you're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
That the only way you will ever be loved, the only way you will ever be accepted is if you do these things.
Yeah, and daddies hear that. Because girls need to know that they're attractive, that they're worthy, attractive in the best ways.
Yes.
And that they're worthy, that they're smart, that they're kind, that, all the things that God has inserted in them, so that they grow up and not having daddy issues and needing to get something from men, because that's a proven thing.
Absolutely.
I love where you're going with this. You're clearly an expert. And my guess is time and time again, when you dealt with predators, you dealt with this issue. That women allowed themselves to be objectified because they wanted love, and that men objectified them because they wanted pleasure. And it's all messed up. And love is thrown out of the equation. And man, we're going to come back in the second segment and talk about this in greater depth with my friend who has experienced it. And she's going to touch a little bit on what pornography has done to her life, through her spouse. I do want to just mention before we go to break that, and this is completely off the track. And by the way, we're going to play a really happy song at the end of this segment because we need a little levity. Creole Brew. I cannot drink coffee. I cannot do caffeine. Look at my personality. Can't do it. But you can mix this with coffee, or you can just have it on its own. But it's the honest energy. It's a natural energy source because it's got theobromine in it, but not caffeine. Well, not hardly any caffeine. Ground cocoa beans. You can get it at Sprouts and Whole Foods and online, creolebrew.com. It smells fabulous. I'm going to let Kristen smell it. Incredible, yummy, chocolatey hot drink. I recommend it highly. We'll be right back.
My household. I don't a degree, but the organization I run is more complex than most companies. Party planner, chef, teacher, nurse, these are just some of the roles I fill every single day. It's time for me to get paid to do what I love to do. I'm going to study at Colorado Christian University and apply what I've learned running my household into a degree that will give me a career. Check out CCU's website at adulted.ccu.edu or call 303-963-3300 and get started down the same amazing path I'm taking today.
The vision of the Life Center is simple: transforming communities, period. Located just south of downtown Littleton, the Life Center meets immediate needs, provides opportunities for development, and shares the hope and truth found only in Jesus. Whether you need help putting food on the table, or reaching your goals by learning English, or finishing your GED, find out more about our services and volunteer opportunities on our website, lifecenterlittleton.org.
It's Channel Mom Radio with Jenny Dean Schmidt. We're here for you.
Welcome back to Channel Mom. I'm going to go to that Gretchen Carlson soundbite as promised. Look, the way in which women are hurt sexually occurs in all ways. It's somebody's addicted to pornography and wants them to act in pornographic ways. It's somebody harassing them at work. It's somebody demeaning them sexually. And Gretchen, on a show that she was on with us a while back, referred to how she was treated when she was on TV and the kinds of things people would say to her about how she looked. And that's another form of harassment. Here it is, Gretchen Carlson.
Don't worry about what other people think about you. And now, you move on to me being at Fox. People are constantly writing me every single day, telling me, those flabby arms, you should wear sleeves. Your legs, they look like thunder thighs. And these are just the clean things that I can actually tell you what people are writing to me. Listen, I don't give a rip what people say about me. I care about how this affects our young kids.
Yeah.
And kids are committing suicide over comments like this on social media. So my lesson first and foremost is build your self-esteem from the inside out. It's a blessing that I grew up fat and that I've had to struggle with my weight my whole life. And I, too, like when you said in the introduction, women feel bad because they gained weight when they got pregnant. Who doesn't?
Yeah, we talked about all kinds of things you could tell in that interview, but Gretchen and I talked before she filed her lawsuit, but she was beginning to allude to just harassment in general in that interview. And I thought, this touches every woman when she starts to talk about stuff like that. Not only do you get harassed and people proposition you, not only do we live in an over-sexualized culture where everything is sexified and selfies are sexified and the underwear you wear and whatever it is, but we're also demeaned for our sexual parts. This looks this way and this looks that way and this should look like this. And women in record numbers are going to get plastic surgery on their busts and on their butts. But it's out of control. And so I think to myself, how do we address our kids? And I know you've thought about this. I want you to do, I'm getting so excited. I'm talking way too fast. I want you to do two things in this segment. Number one, just talk a little bit about how the culture has changed because of our screens and because of social media and because of things like selfies, because I've watched this happen for my 15-year-old daughter. And the way in which she thinks she needs to look when she takes a selfie. How pornography has touched your family and how the selfie thing has touched her family. And then we'll visit how do we talk to our kids about it.
Okay. I see our culture getting really a lot more self-obsessed.
Yes.
But not just self-obsessed, but obsessed with how other people view us. It's so much of it is, I can't post this because it's too real. Nobody can know that I'm messy. Nobody can know that my family isn't perfect. Nobody can know that I'm actually a hot mess and I haven't gotten out of bed for 3 days because I just can't. Those aren't acceptable.
Well, look at me. I'm on Facebook Live right now, and I put on makeup and put on my nicest clothes. I mean, I'm guilty. So go ahead.
And I think so much of that is we lose sight of where our value comes from. Mm-hmm. If we focus on other people as the source of our value, we will always fall short. We're always going to be chasing a dream, a reality that doesn't exist, that's not real. And if you're chasing a fantasy, you're always going to be miserable. You're going to struggle. You're going to have a hard time. And you see this in marriages so much because men and really girls, men and women both are exposed to pornography at a very young age. But you see this more with men because men were created to be visual. They were created to be aroused by looking at things.
Men are 543% more likely to be using pornography. So let's just talk briefly for a minute how that has impacted your family.
When I found out that my husband was looking at pornography, I had convinced myself that he was the only one who wasn't. I just, I never saw it, and considering what I did for a living, I should have seen it. And it was a situation where he actually didn't have a choice to tell me. He wouldn't have if he hadn't been in a situation where he had to. And what I have seen is my husband's view of what I should be as a woman, how I should look, how I should act, the things that I should do. He has a very contemptuous relationship with women in general.
Because of porn.
Because of pornography. Pornography has taught him that women do what you say when you say it, that women are supposed to always be aroused and always be ready, and it doesn't matter that you are more important than anything that your spouse needs or wants out of a relationship, and that the only way to have any type of intimate connection with your spouse is through sex. He completely ignores the relational part of it, and because of that, there is so much conflict in our marriage because of his choice to continue to endorse those lies about women and about his spouse specifically.
And by the way, this is affecting millions of women. Don't fool your millions of women. And when you read, if you've read the Harvey Weinstein story, the producer in Hollywood who's been now accused of harassing in graphic ways a lot of women and actresses and so on, it's the same kind of language you're talking about.
Absolutely.
That the woman was supposed to be aroused all the time, and that he expected her to comply to whatever he wanted to do to her sexually, and it's a violent kind of thing, and aggressive, and not about loving the woman or helping the woman. No. It's about objectifying her. Okay, we only have 5 minutes left. I want to talk to mostly to moms and dads who want to help their daughters and sons not go down this road. I do want to just say, though, that if there's a mom out there hurting today, or a man who knows they are doing this, how do they get help? Do you know a hotline for them to call?
I don't know a hotline for them to call, but there is a really good book called I believe it's called Surfing the Internet, or Surfing for Meaning, or something like that, that specifically talks about it.
Let me say this. Write us at ChannelMom at Gmail. Write us at ChannelMom at Gmail. And if you write us and say, I'm struggling with this, my husband is, or I am, whatever it is, or I'm hurting because of it, write us at ChannelMom at Gmail and tell us, and we'll get you resources. We'll get that in the next week too. I just want you to know that. Okay. So girls and boys, they're being taught in our current culture, 50 selfies a day, and so many of them are kind of compromising. Like, just maybe a little shot of me in my spandex, or just a little shot of me where you can see my cleavage, or what. I'm not saying I'm doing this, by the way, that's not a confession, but I watch kids doing it. And I think, oh my gosh, of course we're objectifying and objectifying women, and none of it has to do with relationship and love. It's all about how I look sexually. So what would you say to parents who want to teach their children differently?
I would say, first of all, with girls, dads play a much, much bigger role in their sexual development than their mothers ever will. They may interact with their moms, but they look to their dads for how men are supposed to treat them. And so if their dads are addicted to pornography, if their dads are saying, oh, you look so cute in those booty shorts, or sure, let's get a bikini on you, you're 2 years old and we're going to strut you around, or all that kind of stuff, that is just perpetuating the problem. You have to be, as a parent, you have to be willing to say, no, I'm not going to let you buy these clothes, and we're not going to shop in this store. And this is why. Not just because I said so. You have to use it as a teaching opportunity.
Yes.
That God values you and created you, and your body is not to be used for this. It's not healthy. It's not
just a tool.
No.
It's not a tool. And I think we now see ourselves. If I'm sexually attractive, then I've made it. And in the end, you're going to end up being used. Mm-hmm. So what about the boys? You've got a boy.
I do. I have a boy, and my goal for him is to help him learn that women are not objects. And also neither is he, because there is objectification of men very much everywhere, just as much as there are girls, but we don't hear about that. Mm-hmm. And so I think for no matter which gender child you have, teach them that their body is their own, And I also don't force my child to go to a family member's arms. I don't force him to give hugs, to give kisses, to do any of that, because his body is his own. He has every right to say no. And being able to say that, like, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. But then also having those conversations early. I use anatomically correct words with my son, like when he's in the bath or whatever the situation is. I don't use the funny words. I don't use those kinds of words.
You're serious about it.
Because all that does is make it seem like, oh, it's really funny.
2 minutes. Oh, we got music for some reason. I don't know why. Hey, by the way, I did promise you music, and we're going to try to get to that happier song just to give you a little levity at the end of this. Does anyone know why there's music over us? We only have about a minute and a half left, but I want to thank you for sharing your story. I want people to know they can get things out there. There's this book called God Made All of Me, a book to help children protect their bodies by the Holcombs, HOLCOMB, and that can help you. Please email us at ChannelMom.
If you enjoy what you hear on Channel Mom Radio, and if you believe the media should be doing more to support moms and encourage families, then why don't you come alongside the efforts of Channel Mom? We'd like to offer you our partner package today. We'll send you a Channel Mom's Best Tips for Moms, as well as a beautiful bling t-shirt when you sign up to be a partnering monthly donor at ChannelMom.com. We live in a world that demeans the importance of moms and belittles the value of family. Research shows the family is breaking down in America. But Channel Mom aims to stop the family breakdown, starting with the moms. We depend on our donors to help us, to put this show on the air, and to do outreach for mothers on the ground, supporting them in their parenting, marriages, addiction issues, and more. So become a Channel Mom partner today and be a part of the change you want to see for mothers and families. Just go to ChannelMom.com and click on Give to CM, and you'll see our donate button there. From the moms at Channel Mom, thank you, and may God bless each mom and her family.